Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we're going to learn all about the new Silent Siren Signature Jazz Bass. This is a Japanese exclusive model, part of Fender's 2020 lineup to honor female musicians. And since Silent Siren is a 4-part female J-pop band, what better band to do it with, right? This band actually got 2 signature guitars. Yoshida Sumire, Sue, got the white Telecaster. You can learn about this one in this video right here. But today we're going to learn about Aina Yamauchi's signature bass. I mean, look at her face. Doesn't she just look like a sweet girl? But man, can she lay down some tasty bass licks. I think, listening to all this new music of Silent Sirens, that has to be one of my favorite parts. Just out of nowhere, she'll hit you with something really juicy that makes you smile. And what I really appreciate about her as a person in general is you actually see her use her signature bass. She's been using it ever since at least 2016 of what I can see. So that tells you how long in the making this thing was. I've yet to see a live performance of Sue using her Telecaster. She's mainly a jazz master girl, I guess. But then again, I'm only limited to the clips that I can find on YouTube. So yeah, you can find plenty of clips of Aina using this bass, and I just find that really cool. But what makes this bass special? When I had first purchased this guitar, I thought it was just the things that I could see right away. You get this mint green finish that also has a matching headstock on the face. It kind of looks a little bit girly with the maple fretboard, but it definitely fits the aesthetic of the band anyways. I'm not sure what this design's actually called, but a lot of commenters in the unboxing episode thought it looked like an Arizona iced tea can. And yeah, it kind of does. And if you look at this one, the finish kind of reminds you of it too. Just slap Arizona on here and you have a signature iced tea bass. But other than that, I knew that the knobs were a little bit different. But thankfully, a few viewers reached out to me and let me know there's actually a little bit more different about this bass than I even realized. And it's mainly because I'm not a bass player. Occasionally I review a bass if I find it attractive enough. But take a look at this. This is a jazz bass that is string through. Apparently that's a desirable thing, or it's at least an interesting point to talk about because most jazz basses are not string through. Now it appears that this bridge can be used both ways, so if you prefer it the traditional way, you can do it up like that. But stock from the factory, they set it up like this. But something that completely blew my mind when 2 people pointed this out to me, this is actually the very first reissue of a Dan Smith era jazz bass. We're talking like 1983, 1985-ish. And what we're talking about here is, look at this. We do not have the metal plate that a jazz bass normally has. So I mean, technically it's cheaper to do it this way. And it was likely just done like this to match the whole cosmetics of everything else, but it was just kind of an interesting reissue or an accidental reissue of an 80s model. And you can also attribute the white pickup covers to that as well. So that's something that makes this bass kind of historically significant in a weird roundabout way that not everybody realized. Because these things don't appear to be selling that well in Japan. The Telecasters are currently sold out, but they're going to do another run of these. But as of the time of recording this video, you can still pick these guys up brand new in Japan. And the only other special features to really talk about, you get the Silent Siren neck plate, and you get Aina's signature back here. So let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside the Silent Siren Jazz Bass. So this is an alder-bodied bass. And it just has 2 single coil pickups in here, and they call them the vintage modified single coils. So you can see what one looks like with the cover, and this is what it looks like without the cover. The coils are just exposed right there. So that's kind of cool to see. And on the underside, instead of using springs of any sort, they just use a really rigid foam block that helps you set the adjustment. They've definitely shielded off these cavities really well with the tab as well as the shielding paint, and the same thing is going on in here. It looks like those cavities are looking pretty good. When both pickups are on, it's 3.44 k ohms. Just our bridge position looks like a little shy of 7, and then just the neck pickup here, we're rocking 6.59. And just in case you're not familiar with the jazz bass layout, there is no pickup selector on these guys. You can actually blend the pickups as much as you want. I just tried to demo each individual one. So this is your neck pickup volume, this is your bridge pickup volume, and this is your master tone. So if you want just your bridge, you gotta turn that off. If you want just your neck, you gotta turn this one off. And if you want both, you can blend them like that, or do any combination in between. But here's what the control cavity looks like in here. Once again, nicely shielded. But here's what the back of this looks like. It's just completely shielded off. I'm guessing they had to do the whole thing since they didn't do the metal plate design. But once again, we have full-size CTS pots in here. That's really nice. And apparently these knobs come from a vintage style Fender amp. I'm not sure which one it originated on, but I was able to find that the 64 Princetons did come with them. So that's kind of a cool throwback to at least the 60s as far as I'm aware. And I actually kind of prefer these knobs over the other ones that the jazz basses normally have, because they're very rigid, and I like the black pointer. It's very clear. It helped me when editing this video to know which pickup I was on. As far as our bridge here, they're calling this the High Mass 4 Saddle Bridge. And again, it strings through the back of the guitar, and it looks to me like you can string it through regularly if you wish to as well. As far as the rest of the body goes, I'm not sure if this is a 100% exclusive finish to this, like maybe it's a slightly different hue, because they didn't call it anything except for bright green on the Fender official website on Japan. But it kind of looks seafoam green to me. And the design goes from the top to the side, but it does not extend onto the back of the instrument. That would have been a nice touch if it also would have continued on the back, but you know, at least you got it on the sides. But moving on from the altar body, we have a maple neck with a maple fretboard here. And it appears to me that's all just one piece. But this is a really nice feature, is the neck and fretboard is a satin finish, whereas everything else is gloss, including the face of the headstock. So you've got the best of both worlds here. You get the gloss beauty of the rest of the instrument, but the satin finish for where you're playing. So that was a nice surprise for me. But they're both poly finishes here. And this is a 20 fret jazz bass. The spec sheets call these the wide frets, and you have the black dot inlays. I think it would have been cool if they would have went with white pearl block inlays, because that would make this bass even more special in my opinion. And the white here would match, you know, the pick guard, that other stuff. Black just seems a little bit out of place, but I still like the vibe of this guitar. I just wish there was something else to make this a little bit more special, you know, at face value, because not everybody understands the history of these things, including myself. It took someone else to point some of those other cool features out for me. But we have a bone nut with a 9.5-inch fretboard radius, and the only thing bad I can really say about this thing is I was really impressed with the Silent Siren Telecaster of how they didn't get all that finish on top of the frets. I think that's because it was white, so they took more time to get it off, but on this guy, as per usual, you can kind of see some of the finish built up on the edges of the frets. Now I took some steel wool and tried to clean that up the best I could. Like the first couple of frets I was able to get it off the top side, but once we got down here, it was just stuck on there. I mean, it doesn't really affect playability, it's just something I was a little surprised about after looking at that last one. As far as our neck specs go, we've got a skinny 1.51 inch at the nut width, and then yeah, this is gonna get beefy by the 12th, 2.2. But first fret neck depth, it's 0.86 and 0.94 by the 12th. Can you imagine if a guitar was like that? Wow, so that's your first fret there. It's really small feeling, and they call this the Slim C neck profile. By that 12th, I mean the profile stays about the same. It actually flattens out a little bit, but gets super wide. As far as the face of the headstock goes, you got your truss rod adjustment in here and vintage style tuners with your string tree. But besides just the painted headstock cap, I really love the Fender logo on this. I'm sure the full effect won't get caught on camera here, but that is super sparkly gold. I love it. It really matches this guitar. It looks so cool. So I definitely appreciate that. Something else I think would have been really cool if they would have did a matte white finish over top of the metal tuner tips, or maybe just put a white tip on here if they could, because then once again you'd have white and green up here with some gold, and then you have the same thing going on here. That would have been sweet. Now moving on to the back of the bass, again you can see it's a string through design with the ferrules, and here's the ending of that stripe that was on the front. You've got a strap button down here, and one up here, as well as your typical cutaway right there. I guess here's kind of what I was talking about. If they could have did this white finish over top of those tuner tips in a similar way that this feels, it's like a satin finish, that would have been sweet. But you do have the Silent Siren neck plate there for a bolt-on neck. Typical construction here with your maple neck and walnut skunk stripe for your truss rod. But you do have some interesting wood grain patterns back here. But here's your tuners, and our serial number dates this one to 2019. And you have Aina's signature down here. Looks like she has a little heart guy. And this guy weighs 9 pounds, 2.5 ounces. So let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. But wait, you guys might remember I have a bass amp to give away. I was going to do it with the Tony Franklin signature fretless bass, but let's be honest, I'm not much of a bass player, so demoing an amp on a fretless bass, not the best. So that was kind of another reason why I decided to pick this one up. So this is a giveaway that was sponsored by Orange. We'll see the winner of this one later in this episode. But this is what I'll be using to demo this bass. My settings for the most part will be flat, and I'll just be running it from the direct out into my audio interface. So what are my final thoughts of Aina's jazz bass? I have not really had enough jazz basses to say, oh, this one's better than this, not quite as good as that, but I can tell you I did enjoy this bass. It might not be the aesthetic choice that I would personally choose on a signature guitar, but for some reason, this bass, it's just great because I'm playing like the Silent Siren style riffs. And I really appreciate her style of bass playing because it's the juicy bass riffs. So if you're a fan of Silent Siren or you just like that it's kind of a reissue of an 80s model, I think it's definitely worth picking one of these things up. I could see these becoming slightly collectible in the future, as most Japanese exclusive guitars do. But I certainly didn't notice anything that made it inferior by any means. And I think why I really like these Silent Siren guitars is the fact that you can't see that black plastic in the truss rod cavity because of the painted headstock cap. That's what makes this feel like a higher end guitar, because normally that's one of those things that you see that makes you go, oh, okay, it's a slightly cheaper made instrument. But as far as quality control goes, Japan knows how to make a very good guitar, or bass guitar. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Silent Siren series here. If you are interested in ordering one of these, I can help you import one from Japan to the US. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky because you got customs duties, taxes, shipping, all that other stuff. I can help you navigate that if you really want to, so just reach out through my new Guitar Day program. I'll put a link in the description. And as far as the little bass thing here, I liked actually having a bass amp. This thing sounded pretty good. I hope that little demo showed you everything that it was capable of doing. But now we need to choose our lucky winner of this beautiful little bass thing. So our winner is... Congratulations! Unfortunately, I never did get that Tony Iommi intro. I did try, but I was never able to fully get in contact with him. But don't worry, we do have a celebrity intro coming up. But we'll do a quick blacklight test. Aw man, those pickup covers, they look so cool. They're just super glowing. It kind of steals the show from the rest of the guitar, because there is a very light glow on this guy. But obviously, it's a brand new guitar. We're not going to find too much going on here. This is mainly just for fun on these guys. Very cool. Let's go ahead and check out the gig bag. This is the one thing that kind of stinks about these. They do not get a factory hard shell case. It's just a really flimsy gig bag, to be honest. It's not one of Fender's nicer ones, that's for sure. You get a little bit of foam padding in the front, you get a little bit of foam padding in the back. But I mean, at least you get something. It's not like the Epiphones that come with nothing. And you have a zippered pouch here. Oh, that's cool. I really appreciate the giant pick for your Fender warranty. How cool is that? Awesome. That has your serial number on it so you can fill it out. I'm not sure if I can actually get warranty on this since I imported it from Japan, but I'm technically the original owner, so I guess we could try. Oh, once again, thank you for tuning in to this Silent Siren review. If you're interested in either of the Silent Sirens, I've actually ordered 3 more of the Telecasters because there's just such a huge demand here in the USA. I might as well import them and sell them to people if Fender's not going to do it. So you can join that pre-order wait list or just wait for them to come in. So once again, my new Guitar Day program if you want one for yourself. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.